Spontaneous speaking video 79. All right, what's up, lovely people? I'm here today to talk about a few concepts wrapped up in one. And I think I'm going to summarize it into the titles pretty much, as you can see now. Does this make me look fat? So the reason why I titled it that is because that's a popular question that many women stereotypically ask their husbands, their significant others, their friends, whatever. And the stereotype is that when they do get the answer that they were hoping not to get, even though it was honest and they wanted an honest answer, they at least appeared like they did, then they can get upset. Not at the fact that it makes them look fat, but at the messenger, at the person that they asked the question to. This then puts the person who's being asked the question in this kind of like flux state where now they're going to be afraid of offending the person each time with the honest truth. This now corners the person into like, okay, I should either lie to the person, to the person who's asking me the question. I should lie to her and say, no, it doesn't make you look fat, because that's what the person may want to hear, even if it's not the truth. And then that'll also avoid conflict. Or you can tell the truth, but even if gently, just be ready to face the person now facing some type of insecurity, or, not only facing that type of insecurity, but then becoming infuriated at you. Once again, this is stereotype, doesn't happen all the time, but I believe that it happens enough for me to be able to talk about it. And I want to address both parties. So I think I'm going to start with the person being asked the question. So what I advise you is to embrace honesty. Seriously, like, I've made a video on using tact, and I firmly believe that tact is an incredibly important part of communication, but at the same time, while you're using tact, that should not sacrifice the truth behind it, And I think I made some type of quotes, maybe like even an aphorism of some sort. Like, if you want, you can go refer to the video about tact, but I pretty much talked about how sugarcoating the truth, at least in a metaphorical sense, clearly, when you cover it in chocolate, for example, it's not necessarily always, if ever, going to really dilute the medicine, but if anything, it's assuring that the medicine will be not only taken but even ingested to begin with. Because you can have the most bitter medicine, and who's gonna actually take it? You know what I mean? But if you that's why we have like actual medicine that's like raspberry flavor, and all of these different flavors that they use to trick children into drinking, and now next thing you know, you want to overdose on Motrin. I don't know. Maybe that was a bit morbid. I'm sorry. I apologize. Sometimes I've been in this thing lately with dark jokes. I don't know. I'm sorry. Anyway, back to the case. This is a spontaneous speaking video, so I can't even edit that out. Anyway, what I was saying pretty much is that when you have the truth, then it's not always a bad thing to cover it in sugar, in chocolate, whatever is necessary, I guess, for the person to be able to take it. Now, if you cover it in a type of chocolate that's now taking away from the impact of the truth, that's where the problem lies. And that's where I guess you have to find some sort of balance. You have to find a good mixture where the flavor of whatever you're eating, that truth that you're eating, is not going to interfere with the effect of the thing that you're trying to have the person ingest, or that you're even trying to ingest, you know? And so to bring this into very layman, grounded, concrete terms, what I'm saying is that be sure to use tact. It's not bad to use tact and to say things kindly to other people, but don't sacrifice the truth behind it. It doesn't have to be one extreme or the other. You don't have to like super soak it in all of this chocolate and sugar and stuff, like, you know, to the point where they don't even really get the truth at the end of the day. But at the same time, you don't want to do the other extreme where you really chock it full of truth, and then next thing you know, you've just hurt the person, and now, like, well, they know the truth, great, but they didn't even really accept the truth, and you've kind of like ruined a relationship of some sort, or you've caused another problem, which is now you've hurt them. And that doesn't mean the truth is never going to hurt, but I feel like there's a way to deliver the truth that will be beneficial. You know, constructive criticism, for example, is a very good way of being able to do that. So if somebody asks you a question such as, does this make me look fat? And you genuinely believe that it does make the person look fat, you don't have to be like, yeah, that definitely looks fat, take it off. Like, you look sloppy, disgusting, it's unhealthy. I don't know. You know, you don't have to say that. But you also don't have to lie to the person either. Oh, no, it doesn't look fat. You go ahead and wear it, because then that's also being deceptive. And how's the person going to trust you? You know, like, because then when the person does find out, like, people are laughing at her and stuff now outside, that's not being a good friend. You know what I mean? You have to be honest with this. You have to be honest with these people. This even goes into relationships and friend dynamics, where it's like, hey, if you feel like, and this goes for even like my close friends and everything who may be watching this, but like, yeah, if you, I try, and I would like to think of myself as somebody who's capable of receiving constructive criticism well, understanding this logic and everything. For me, the truth, yeah, it can hurt, but I never take it out on the person. You know what I mean? Or I'd like to think I never take it out on the person, unless if the way the person delivered the truth is what made it hurt even more. And so you can keep the purity of the truth that you're delivering without having it become even more amplified with your delivery. And so if any of my close friends out there, you know, see me, you know, and I have friends who like tell me like, hey, yeah, like what you did over here, what you're thinking over here, whatever, in my opinion, I don't think that it's good, and here's why. That's not something for me to be upset about. But if now all of a sudden you're like just calling me out, you know, or you're like really just attacking me in this manner or some way, like I feel attacked by you and I feel like you're actually trying to embarrass me or something, now it's like, okay, like, what was your actual motive here? Was it actually to help me? Was it actually to get this truth to me? Or was it that plus now you're trying to also add some sort of other component where you're actually trying to like deface me in a way? So yeah, keep balance with that. When you're delivering truth, make sure that you're still delivering truth, but then also make sure that you're delivering it intact, because that's when, at least according to my own experience, it's going to be the most receptive and it's going to be the most beneficial. Now let's talk to the woman, or the woman who looks fat in the dress. Number one, you asked the question. So if you ask a question, a direct question, and you want an honest answer, first of all, don't ask the question if you don't want an honest answer. That's what I say. But if you ask the question and you're expecting an honest answer, and the honest answer happens to be an answer that you don't really appreciate, that you were hoping that it wasn't really the case, try and remember that number one, once again, you asked the question, you know? So if this is what you wanted to know, it's okay, you know, like, yeah, if this makes you look fat, it's all right to be upset that this made you look fat. But don't be upset at the person who told you that it's true, it makes you look fat. Because number one, once again, you asked them, you know? And then number two, that person is just being honest. And it's better that that person tells you right now while you're at home so that you can change before you go out looking like a hot mess and then other people are thinking it, or they may even tell you directly like, oh yeah, you look fat today. Like, are you pregnant? You know, like questions like that. You know what I'm saying? So I want to heavily advise, and I understand that it's not as easy said as it is done. But I want us to come to a place in society where we're okay with accepting brutal truths. But we have to have both sides. We have to know to give brutal truths while also giving it in love. Give the truth, but in love, you know? Without truths, we're not going to grow. Emotionally, spiritually, physically, mentally, whatever it is, we're not going to grow. The truth will hurt at times. It will. That's just what it is. But that pain is what causes us most of the time, if not all the time, to help us grow. Like when you're working out and you're breaking down those muscles and everything, that you start to get sore and everything. Those are your muscles breaking and tearing apart and then rebuilding and becoming a stronger muscle. And that's why they say like no pain, no gain. You know what I mean? And so, now there are ways, you know, like where now you can take certain things to quicken up like the soreness and everything, that period and everything. And it's still allowing the muscles to grow. That process is still happening. So I guess that could be symbolic for the tact. But don't take a substance that's also going to interfere with that muscle growing. Like you're trying to avoid the soreness so badly that now you're taking these substances that it even slows down your muscle growing process. The truth is going to hurt at times, and we have to learn to be able to accept these truths. But we also have to learn that when we're giving these truths, well, first, when we're accepting these truths, don't shoot the messenger. Unless if the messenger is also trying to add their own thing to it to further hurt you and everything. But, you know, if the messenger is just the messenger, it's just the messenger. What's coming to mind right now is King David in the Bible. Great archetype for this, where he's known as the man after God's own heart. Like that's what God himself called David in the Bible. And it's just beautiful because this man, King David, not only lusted after a woman, he had several wives of his own, you know, at the time. You know, it was very polygamous culture back then. Several wives of his own and everything, and even harlots and concubines, you know what I mean? But at the top of the roof, you know, he's chilling on his palace, and then he's able to see Bathsheba, ironically, taking a bath. And he lusts after her, and he's the king, so somehow he's able to finesse and get Bathsheba to come into his palace, and he's able to sleep with her and all of that. My man's wasn't able to pull out, and so Bathsheba gets pregnant. Bathsheba is married to another man who's actually in the army for King David. So King David, trying to be smart, invites the man back, I believe his name is Uriah, invites the man back home so that he can hopefully sleep with his wife. And then when, you know, we didn't have like birth DNA tests and stuff like that back then. So he's hoping like, yeah, you know, when Uriah sleeps with his wife, then he's going to think the baby is his. And I know this seems like a segue, but I'm getting somewhere with this. He's going to think the baby is his. And then when he thinks the baby is his, then he's going to like problem solved, pretty much problem solved. Like, yeah, for lack of better terms or lack of details, problem is solved. And then instead of Uriah going back to sleep with Bathsheba, he stands guard at the palace to try and protect David. So then what David does, the man after God's own heart, he arranges for Uriah to not only go back to the army, but to place him in the front line so that he'll die. That way he can take Bathsheba as his own wife. And this all ends up playing out well. Then Nathan, Prophet Nathan, comes, and he comes to David like a few weeks, months, I don't know, sometime later, with an allegory. And he pretty much tells David a story that I'm not going to really like get into, but pretty much when he tells this allegory, a symbolic allegory of like David's like, this is an outrage, and you know, that man who did this should be killed and all of that. And Nathan is like, well, that man is you, because you did this to Uriah and you did that and blah blah blah. David immediately knows that, whoa, like, I guess he couldn't really see this within himself before. Like, he got so tunnel vision in what he was supposed to do that he didn't even realize like all the wrong that he was doing. Or if he was realizing, he was kind of like pushing it to the side. But Nathan was the messenger in this case. He was the messenger for God, and he came to be able to open the eyes to what David was doing. And when Nathan opened David's eyes to that, it said that Nathan just left. like after that, he's like, well, my job here is finished. He didn't sit there and he didn't try to say like, you how could you do such a thing, you know, like, and just really like judge David. David already feels bad after being told this, but all David needed was the truth. And that's exactly what Prophet Nathan did. Then he just left. He minded his own business after that. What I'm saying is that David did very well in not insulting Nathan and not getting mad at Nathan. And he understood that what Nathan was saying was true, and that Nathan was only telling him as a messenger, and nothing had to do with Nathan. You know what I mean? And Nathan did his part well in delivering it in what could be seen as the most tactful way possible, like giving an allegory so that David could see his own flaws from an objective standpoint, and then realizing like, oh shoot, this is me. Now all of a sudden, he's able to, like, David's able to take this for himself. He's able to see like, wow, like I'm the problem over here. And he's already feeling bad. And Nathan did not add his own judgment upon that. You know, he just kind of like left it alone. Like, hey, this is up to you and God now. Like, my work is done here. So, all that being said, whole point of this video is I want to encourage us to continue to give truth as direct as we can. Would direct be the word? Direct in the sense that continue to keep all of the truth pure and necessary, untainted. But I wouldn't consider truth being tainted if you're delivering it in a loving, constructive, tactful manner. When you're delivering it in a diluted manner, that's kind of like taking away from the effect of the actual truth. That's when I believe that, okay, like now you're kind of like crossing the line. But if you're delivering it in a manner where the truth still stays pure, but now it's just being more digestible, I guess. I hope that I'm using the right terminology, but I feel like you guys get what I'm saying. Let's do well, and I encourage everybody to just, once again, like, have more courage to give truth to people. And when we are giving truth to people, and when we're receiving truth from people, or even not necessarily objective truth, but their own opinions on stuff, like, well, the objective truth may be that you don't really look fat in that, but my personal opinion, I think that you kind of look fat in that. Can I help that I feel that I think that you look fat in that? No. Like, I can't, it's not up to me. You know what I mean? Like, that's just my opinion on that matter. Learn to accept that. Don't be upset at me for thinking that. Instead, be grateful that, I was honest with you. If you ask, there's a difference between, once again, if that's why they have that whole thing. Well, nobody asked you. If somebody didn't ask you, then okay. But once again, even if the person doesn't ask, sometimes still see where they're coming from, because David never asked for Nathan to come to him with that allegory, but it was necessary. King David needed to hear that allegory, and sometimes we have to hear certain truths. But don't forget to give the truth in love. And don't forget not to shoot the messenger. That's all. So yeah, I want to know y'all's thoughts on that. Once again, be sure to check out the Tact video. And I think that this even ties into the hollow flattery video, like avoiding hollow flattery. Like, these are just things that like make me cringe, because once again, if you get into the habit of lying or like sugarcoating the truth, exaggerating whatever it is, that makes you a little bit less credible, because people will always think then that, well, I know that Denzel, he likes to guard feelings, so he's not going to tell me the truth. I have to go to somebody like now when they want like an honest answer, even if you're giving them like an honest answer, they might not still believe you, or they might not go to you in the first place. So you want to still keep your credibility, but at the same time, you also want to remember the other side, like, oh, well, I know that Denzel, he's going to give me to it just like it is, and he's not even going to like use tact or anything to kind of like get me to rest gently in the truth so that I can grow gently into it. You know what I mean? And so I just advise that you identify where you are on that balance and then try to get them to align. Done.